Okay, so no questions in regards to queries. That means you all had tons of fun. Some of you probably made multiple queries, like you said you were thinking about doing. And yeah, okay. In that case, so I did tell you I wanted to show you a couple of other things you can do with queries, but I realized when I was looking back at the video from Wednesday, that I kind of went over some of that already, but with just the different types of criterias. So again, if you went down to here, to the GC Learn Free different criterias, you'll be able to see what options are available to you here. So, well, like for changing criteria. So I showed you all how to do like a wildcard if you want to look for certain words. I showed you how to do greater than or less than, things like that. So, is that gonna come up? So we looked at these on, or I showed you these two examples of those two on Monday, and there's some stuff for dates. I don't think many of you had. Actually, some of you did have dates. And then other things like, does it equal a specific thing exactly or not? So I didn't want to show you all some examples of that, but again, we kind of already have gone over that. But regardless, let's see what else we can get real quick, and then I think we will go on to forms and reports. So, okay, so I'll make a query based off of these two tables just to start off, and trying to see what do I want to have. All right, I'm gonna take the Pokemon. And let's see what else we can take. Let's get his let's just look at his height and weight. I was gonna do some stuff with the weaknesses again. I'm just gonna look at his height and weight. Okay. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna look up something because I did not think about actually getting it. Oh, that's easy. Mass divided by height squared. Okay, cool. So I just typed in BMI there. And I am going to try to get it to do something very special for me here. Yeah, sure, everything they cover Pokemon stats in there. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna do the it was mass first, so I'll do weight divided by height. Let's see. Okay, see if this gets mad at me. Looks like it's good. Run it, see if it actually shows up or if it crashes on me. This way. If we're gonna take this. No, I want you to calculate it for me. Come on, you can do it. Revenues may contain too many complicated elements. Fine. Right. So can I type it up here? Or maybe I can. Right here. Oops. Oh, it went away. All right, let's try it over again. BMI. Doing it up here. I want to do that. Why is it not getting that? All right. I want to show you guys how to do one by calculation, where you can calculate it automatically within the query. But I guess I need to look more at that. My experience, I'm able to just throw it in to the criteria or do it in any expression. Um, I think I showed, yeah, I did show you guys one before with the email addresses. I want to show you how to do one in the query though. I'm not getting that. Let me go back to design. Do I have to do it from here? Oops. Not gonna work. Okay. Yeah, it's not gonna take it. Oh, I have to come back to that. It's not part of your criteria. I just wanted to try to show you how to do that because I did show you in oops, no, cancel. Showed you in here in the previous week with one of the email addresses. I created an email address, calculate, fill in the table. I didn't want to show you how to do it in a query too, so I apologize for that. Oh no, that was in the basics that I showed you all that. That's right. Right. When we did this calculated fill here. All right. But anyway, all right, let's move on to doing some forms then. Sorry, I don't like the fact that that didn't work. I'm gonna try more because that should have worked. Stats. Okay. Come on. Wait. And then wait. Should be all I need to do. I know I already tried this, but I'm just gonna try again. Spelling those the same. Oh, I'm not spelling those the same. That's why. Thank you. They're like, I know it should work. All right. I'm missing a parenthesis that says somewhere. Oh, yeah, here. Okay. It should be just that one. See, okay, there it is. I was like, why is this not working? That should totally work. Okay. Thank you for realizing that I was not typing the fields the correct way. They had the names height, space, parentheses, M, and weight, weight, parentheses, kilograms. So I was not typing them correctly. That's why it was not working. But anyway, so calculated fill, you can just put in whatever the field is that you're using in the calculation. And so we just created a new, we just created a new field that appears now in our queries. So maybe if I was looking at the BMI, oh yeah, technically this is wrong because it's supposed to be height squared. Yeah, okay, cool. Times height space M. Okay. This another one says, oop, there we go. And you know what? I'm gonna actually put in here greater than 0. So here are all the ones that have BMIs greater than 0. I did greater than 0 because some of them gave us errors because they have technically 0 height because they don't have any meters that they reach or even any decimeters. So man, if I want to see obese Pokemon, I could do a calculation to see if any Pokemon were obese. So, like, relax. Yes, the purpose of a query is just to filter out certain records. So, like in this case, I got all the ones that actually have a BMI. Said if it was greater than 0. And the problems that we looked at beforehand, we looked at was battle stats above 500. So these are all the ones that had their battle stats above 500 when we took all those together. This one gave us, which you could say by filtering, but it also allows you to you can see everyone, but then add these other fields to it that won't necessarily be connected to it. For instance, this has fields from 2 different tables, but they're connected based off this relationship that's formed between them, this one-to-many relationship. And so then we can build other fields based off of that. Or the query I just built today, which I'll just call Pokemon BMI. It's the same. The field I created today for Pokemon BMI, we actually incorporated a new calculated field within the query because we already had the height and weight, but instead of me going to the table and doing this calculation for BMI, I can do it directly in the query instead. So that way I don't have to add more data to the data I had initially. And so this is also something that a lot of people will do. They'll do their queries to create a new calculated field based off data that was already given to them. For instance, with the Pokemon stats table, instead of the base stats, I could have HP, attack, special defense, special attacks, speed be in here and have the base stat just be the sum of those for each one. Because it wouldn't make sense for me to have this when I can have more detailed data and this can just be calculated from it. And so that's something which you could, of course, just create a new table that will do that for you, like the example I showed you with the email addresses being created. But a query will allow you to do so as well. So, okay. But yeah, the basis of it, this allows you to show results that meet certain criteria from tables or other queries. Because as I showed you before, you could build a query based off of another query. So yeah, that's the whole point of a query. So you can filter out and do searches for specific results. So any other questions about not forms, about queries? All right. So in that case, we will move on to next week and we're going to look at forms. So I'm going to go back to my create tab. I'm actually going to close all of these guys. And with my Pokemon type selected, maybe I should do this one. Yes. No, I'll do Pokemon. Yeah, I'll do types. All right. So with type selected, I'm going to go to forms, and we have a couple of different. Excuse me. We have a couple of. Oh, sorry. There was a question. We can use query. Oh, I already answered that. Yeah, we can use queries to filter out anything. Anything that you want in your database. Yep. Anything. So, if you wanted to, let's open this one back up again. If you wanted to know, let's see something that's not on here. For instance, if you had this and you're like, oh, I want to filter all the Pokemon whose speed is greater than like 100. You could filter for it. You would get a result of 0, right? Because there's nothing here in regards to speed in this data at all. So So to answer your question specifically, you can, yes, use queries to filter out anything that you want in your database, and get results. And then also you do calculations from that, like I did with the BMI, because that was just based off weight and height. So filtering out for the weight and height, then you can do specific calculations. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. So what type one selected, because I want to make a form for based off of this one. Um, I'm gonna create a new form. So let me go through the. Make sure I go through this information first. So the whole point of this is to make it easier for us to view um, our data, and how you can make it easier for the user to view. Oh, how what specific data do you need to make this new record? And so what it does is it allows us to kind of create that front end look of what the user would see to enter in data and information. So it can create a new record. For instance, how many of you have ever filled out an application online? Like everyone, right? Um, you probably to get into the school, you didn't do a paper application. So when you fill that out, you got a form. Well, that form, you typed in certain information, and all it did was take that and it pulled it to a database in the background, and then you had a new record that was created in a database. And so that's what a form is used for. It's that front end view, or GUI, or graphical user interface for the user, and it's connected to a table in the background. And the great thing about that is, sometimes you all will fill out forms, and what will happen is other parts of the form will begin to fill out on its own. That's because it starts recognizing, oh, you're that person in the database. Uh, so you can think of like how Google saves your passwords. Sometimes, like, what does it do? It looks to see, oh, is this website a part of this site? Oh, it is. Well, this is the password you usually use for this site. It's just pulling that data up, right? That you have those passwords saved in on Google Chrome, for those of you that have that, or your I don't know if Safari has the same thing. I'm sure it does. I'm sure they all do nowadays. But yeah, that's all it's doing. You're starting to fill out a form online, and then it says, "Oh, you're on the site. This must be the username and password you want to use." And it asks you if that's what you want to use or not. But all of those are just different forms, or different. I was going to say different forms of forms, but they are. And so in Access, we can create a form, and we have a ton of different ways to do so. Here's that whole forms group. Uh, I'm gonna look at form design, and form wizard. But you can do as you please. And so here's just a quick example, pretty much of, here, I click form with this table selected. Look what happened. It just automatically created a form with the field names here, and then just little text boxes to the right of it. So a pretty basic form, right? Pretty easy to look at. And at the bottom, you can see how many records I have. And as I cycle through those records, it would then go to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Um, and so, yeah, that's what that ended up looking like. This is actually me creating a new record using the form, so you can see what it'd be like to use it. And um, also, I can then make modifications to it because it's connected directly to the table anytime I want. So, like, I changed it from grass to plant, and then it then appeared that way in the actual table. Um, so let's take a look at doing that. So I'm going to do it from the types table. I'm going to click form, and it's going to create a form based off of the type one table. And so, as you can see, it pulls in all of the Pokemon stats, or not stats. It pulls in all the fields that we have for type one, Poke Oni, the weakness, the height, the weight, the base stat. But notice there's also something else here. Looks like a table almost. where did this come from? Anyone have a guess where this came from? Well, if you're not quite sure, what I'll do is I'm going to open up the type 1 table. Put this drop down here. Oh, that looks like the same information there, right? Well, where did this come from? Anyone have an idea where this part came from? This is the same as what we saw in the form, because the form is directly based off the table. Where did this come from? Yep, the relationship. So when you form that relationship, it expects that same relationship still to be there, or if you create any new entries. And so that is what we see here. And so the cool part about that is, if for whatever reason we discovered a new Blastoise who had a new weakness, then I could type out what that would be. So anyway, yeah, this is my form, and notice that here there's a instance for records, because this could have had more than one record here, and so then I could go to the next one. Of course, right now there's only one. What I just did say, hey, I want to make a new one, and so if I wanted to, I could begin to add in some new information. So like, I don't know, there's a new Blastoise. He's Pokédex entry 789. I'm making this up. His type 2 is going to be fighting, and he is going to be 3 feet, and he is going to weigh 100 kilograms, or sorry, 3 meters. He's going to weigh 100 kilograms. His base stat is going to be 600, and his first type is going to be a dark type. It's like a Ninja Turtle. It's dark and fighting, and he's a tortoise. All right. So honestly, if I refresh that, that's there. I'm gonna take a look at type 1 table here and refresh this guy. Notice what happened. Well, we just created on the form here, got updated to this table. So now we have a new Blastoise that's has this, that's the index, and he's of these types and has these stats. And if we go back here, we don't see that. Right? We don't see any of that information. Why not? Because oh yeah, no, this is a one-to-many relationship. So when I added that there, you actually will see it in the Pokemon stats. It should be here. Oh, okay. Oh, no, there it is. So I added in that new entry for the national index as well. Okay. And notice it automatically filled out the Pokemon information because it was connected to Poconi in our relationship when we created the relationship. Notice also that it put in the types and stuff correctly as well. So that's kind of cool, especially if you have things tied together. If you have to have a relationship form, you're able to take care of that all in one. But as we travel through here, so weakness, poison, now keep going through all these if I want to. You can see that we get to each of the other instances, the records that we have. And if we wanted to, once again, we could add a new record at any point in time. So that's the beauty of a form. And this is the simplest way to make a form. Again, you just select your table and go to create and just click form. And it'll make a form that collects everything that you would need. Okay. So close all these guys here. Just ask me to save. Yes, save it the exact same way. So I was just being lazy about it, so I just click close all so it would come up automatically. Um, I usually try to name mine by like, well, to be honest, when I create a form, I name it the exact same as the table, or the query, because the icon in front of its name will tell me that it's a form. Some people like to put form on the end of it just so that they know when they look at it, like, okay, this is the form. But like I said, personally, I just like to leave it the same because that way I know what it's connected to. So I look at this, oh, this is a type 1 form. It's connected to this type 1. Oh, this is Pokemon stats. It's connected to this one. This guy is something different. That's why there's a form there. As you notice, it does not look the same as the other one. And that's actually what I'm going to show you guys now. So I'm going to create a new form for type 1. This time I'm going to use form design. So I'm going to go back to here and take a look at what's going on. So there's my form design. When I click on that, it's going to be very similar to what we've done before, where we would create one very simply from just like a data sheet when we create a query. Or we used the query wizard to create like a simple query, and it just pulled everything in for us automatically. Or when we created a table from the get-go, we were able just to type things in automatically. But then we looked at doing it in the design view, right? And when we did the table design view, we had to tell it the name of the fields, we had to tell it the data type it had, we had options to give descriptions, we had to choose a primary key, we could be more specific. And then once we did that, we would go back to Datasheet View and then enter in our same thing we did with query. We would do a query design, like I demonstrated at the beginning of the class, and you're telling it specifically, okay, these are the fields you should include from these tables or queries. Oh, you can do these type of calculations. Oh, you should sort it by this. Oh, you should group these by this. Oh, you should do these. You should show this one, hide these. We made all those changes in the design. Then we ran the query, and we got to see what the results actually look like in the data sheet. So similar to all of those, we have a form design where, yes, we just showed that we can just click form. It automatically creates it beautifully by asking for everything that we would possibly need to create a new record. But this time we're going to do it from the design point of view. And so when we look at it, the design point of view, it literally is designing it from scratch. Like it's just a blank canvas for different details that we can add. And then we can pull in and I'll show you how to do that. We can pull in different fields and then change like, oh, this is the size I want that field to be, because we don't need that much space to type in 3 numbers. We can actually even add code from VBA to be attached to it. You won't have to do any of that in this class, but just to show you how much more powerful the forms can get. Even so, you can even get to the point where you have someone enter something in one field in the form, and then another field that you just made up pretty much is created there, and you can have it do calculations automatically for you. Like that BMI one that I created beforehand, we could create a new field that would calculate BMI if we wanted to. By doing some code in the background for it to pull in what's the height, what's the weight that was entered, and then it'll appear to us in the form. So um, that's the beauty behind doing it from the design point of view. You're able to literally design every part of it. If you just click form, it just puts it straight vertically down. Like you don't have a choice of saying, oh, I want this here, then I want this here. And so that's why I'm showing you both versions. So let's give the form design a go. And so here's our link canvas for us to put our details on. Notice that we get rulers as well. So you can see how this would appear on a screen based off the size. So this is an inch ruler, in case you're wondering. So the most important thing in my mind, two most important things in my mind when working with creating a form from design view is under the design tab, add existing fields and property sheets. That's why I highlighted those in the canvas on the canvas page. The reason is because this is how you decide what fields do you want on this. Property sheets allows you to decide how large certain things should be or what height they should be, and things like that. So tab border is pretty cool because then you can change where things are, the controls are. But in essence, all we really care about is our existing fields. So I can show for what tables to add things from. So if I wanted to get real crazy, these are already connected, right? They already have a relationship. So a lot of this stuff will tie in together. And as you saw, if you go from the type one, it will actually automatically, as you enter things into it, it'll automatically go back to Pokemon stats, right? But let's just say that that wasn't done. What I could do is I could drag different things that I wanted over. So maybe I'll start off with the Pokemon National Index. Type 1. Type 2. And I am not perfect at this, so I'm just kind of scaling these as best as I can. Oh, okay, everything else is the same. All right, cool. And so there we go. Just created that form, and I could do some other things here instead of the saying national ID number. I could like change the wording here to say like national Pokédex entry or something. Uh, or actually this right here. But I'm just going to leave it like that, just as simple, just to show you all how we can move those. And I said the property sheet was another important thing. So with this field highlighted, notice that when I click property sheet, it tells me that this is a text box entry, meaning that someone can, the user would type something into this text box. I could change and see like you have things like font size, the font that's shown, the border style and width and color, the background color, how many decimal places could be allowed if something had to do with decimals, like the heights and weights. They have one decimal automatically in their fields. Um, its position on the form. So I can get, there's a lot of properties that are added here. I can even change the name of these to do some different things. So, but as you can see, there's a lot of different properties that I could change for each one of these fields. But that's why I said those two are the most important, because this allows you to add it onto the actual form, and this allows you to get more specific about positions and the way that it looks. So I'll leave that to you all to play around with if you desire. And so at this point, we're in design view, right? So which we're used to, but and we've seen form view, right? Because that's where we entered in our different data. Next, I'll show you Datasheet View to see what that looks like. All that does is change it back into what you would see on a table. Okay. Notice though that in doing so, all the fields that we added are here. If we looked at the Pokemon stat one, uh, oh yeah, we looked at the Pokemon stat one, what would this Datasheet view be? I don't see one here, but it does have one. Anyone have an idea where its data sheet view would be? for the Pokemon stats form that was created, or the type 1 form that was created. And think about the difference in how I created these two things too. Where's the datasheet view for the Pokemon stats form and the type 1 form? It has all the records listed in a data sheet in a table format. Oh, it's right here. It's in the table. The table already has that format. So there's no need for it to have a datasheet view because it was literally formed based off of this datasheet view. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Going back to form 1, this is what we just created. If we just saw it in design view, this is how it looks. Allows us to move things around, change some properties, add some more fields if we would like to. We've seen form view before already. This lets us see, this is what the user would see. Notice how it says national there and that Pokemon got cut off. That might tell me I should go back to my design view and make sure that all of this can be seen quite easily. So maybe I would even do some of that. Okay. Now we can see what those words say, right? And by switching back to form view, there may be other things that you can see, like for instance, all of these line up perfectly. These guys do not, so maybe I would go back and move these so they will line up a little better. But those are the different things that you would change as you move back and forth. But there's one other thing that we haven't actually looked at here, and that's the layout view. So let's take a look at that. And so layout view, a lot of times students confuse with design view because there is some similarity in what you're doing. What this allows you to do is essentially change the layout of things. So we can just move around these field names and the actual text boxes if we want to, and put them in specific positions. I would be very careful because a lot of times people will go in layout view and try to actually like modify a record or add a new record. Don't do that because as you can see, you can't really do that. And if you find a way to actually change what's labeled here, you can by changing the label. It's going to be on every record. So in fact, I'm pretty sure it's very hard to do so, but I've seen people do it. So layout view is just for you laying things out. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll start in design view and then they'll go in layout view to maybe change some things up. Personally, and that's just because and in layout view you actually can see what it would look like. It's kind of like almost like a print preview in a way, I guess is a way to think about it, because it's actually pulling in data to go into these different text boxes so you can see this is what it will actually look like. Because in design view you don't get that look, right? You can't see what possible entries will look like. Like if you need to make this larger, right? Because maybe Blastoise name doesn't fit in here because it's too long or something. You can't see that from design view, but in layout view you can. And you can even go through each record to see, okay, how is this going to look now when I switch this up? Okay, see, like I was talking about, like, hey, people's names might not appear long enough. I can see that here, but I couldn't see that in the design view. So again, kind of like a print preview. I can't believe I've never thought about that before. But yeah, it's kind of like a print preview. So it makes it easier for you to visualize, okay, how's this actually going to look to the user? And that might help you make some decisions about the way things look. So that's layout view. And I already mentioned the datasheet view, how for just creating the form straight up, the datasheet view is the table because it's based off the table. In this case, though, it allows us to create the form however we want, add the fields that we want to be on the form, and then we can see what that will look like as a table here in the datasheet view. Okay, so all very useful. So Questions about using form design? Okay. In that case, let's move on to the wizard because everyone likes wizards, right? Because they make things easier. They're wizardry. We're gonna look at using the form wizard. So pretty much the form wizard is just like how the query wizard worked. It will very easily. Oh, so the graphs. Oops. So the graphs help us with what exactly? Graph. Are you talking about like the dotted page in design view? So what that helps you with is, hey, where are these things gonna go? Because as you can see, I get a ruler. I can I can visibly see where these things line up. Like I said earlier, look how I lined those up. These guys are not lined up. But I get this kind of grid so I can see that okay, that's going to be lined up now. And oops, maybe I'll try to line this guy up here. Maybe even increase its size so it matches with the other fields. I can do that here. I can try to do that in layout view, but you don't see a dotted line, right? Where you can say, oh, okay, I know that this matches now. Um, and that is also where you can bring in your, I guess you could do it from here. But that'd be it makes it easier to bring in your different fields so you can see where they need to go. And then you can increase how much space you need very easily too to add it on. Whereas in layout view, you can pull those things over, but once this gets to a certain point, maybe you want something to be at a bottom. You want this user to be able to scroll down to see one like final thing, or it's like a for office use only part. Uh, Try changing the text alignment. Yeah, I can do that. So for instance, this guy is not right aligned. I can do that. Yeah, I can also do unless are you talking about these guys? Because I can order these so that they're all lined up perfectly. There are ways to do that in in a range. Yeah. Right here in the table group, I can stack and make them so that they're all stacked up a certain way just by selecting them first. So there are a lot of things in here that will help you do all that. Also, just straight up from the property sheet, I can see, hey, this is the width, this is the height, this is how far up top it needs. I can just say like write those down and make them all have the same values. And then like the padding here at the bottom for inside of the fields, I can make sure they all have the same stuff for each one, so that way that they will be equal to. So there are a lot of ways to do that without necessarily even doing it from design view. Like I said, personally, I think this is just easier to see. Like, here's my lines. I even get like a ruler to see how wide I want it to be, or how wide it would appear in inches. Um, and then layout view, I don't have that feature anymore. I'm just kind of being able to see what does it look like when these records are in here, right? Like still Charmander is barely fitting in there. Charmeleon does now too. It looks like all my data fits in very easily now. Other questions about form design view? And Benjamin, let me know if that was not your question, or that's not what you meant by text alignment, if it wasn't one of those two things. Okay. All right. All right. So Next up, we're gonna look at the form wizard. There's a blank forms too, but this just has no controls on it whatsoever. By controls, I'm talking about like the text boxes or radio buttons if you wanted radio buttons and things like that. It would have absolutely none of those things. Um, so you would literally be creating it straight from scratch. Yes, you can. I'll show it to you. I don't think I have an example. I may actually have put that in the canvas page. I don't remember doing that though. But yes, you can still add in your you still adding your different fields from design view here. But like I said, you don't have any control. So I did that here. I would have to start literally from a blank canvas when I'm putting things in. So that's the difference between those two things. I'm not gonna say that one. But let's look at the form wizard. So similar to what you saw when we did the query wizard, we can, this will be a good one. We can create a form based off of the data we have in tables or a query. Let's get its height, weight, BMI, and I'm gonna get, just for fun, its base stat as well. And now I can decide, how do I want these fields to be stacked up? Do I want it to be columnar, meaning it's going to do an array of columns? So it's just going to say, here's the first thing, second thing, third thing, and then when I run out of room, I'm going to go up here to the next column and do it again, and then do it again. Or in a tabular format. So interesting. Here's my like column headers, and then here's things that I'm going to enter in for each one. So similar to what you see just from the table, a table Datasheet View, even better because now you can actually see like the primary key. Here's my different fields. So this will look just like a table, or justified, which is the one I usually go for, where you have, here's my field name, and here's what I want to enter. Next field name, here's what I want to enter. And it keeps going until it reaches everything across. So I tend to pick justified or columnar unless I want the user just to enter in a data sheet. But in that case, I'm like, just enter in a table. Why would I have you do the same thing? Click next. As we've seen before, it will, based off of the table that was used, even though I did use a query and I used the table, or I used information from a table in a query to create this form. If you recall, the Pokemon BMI query was actually based all on Pokemon stats table. And so look how it named it. It named it Pokemon stats. Since that already existed, it just added a 1 at the end. So I'm going to do Pokemon stats BMI. And I get a choice once again to either open it in design view so I can make some changes quickly, or open it in just the form view so I can see what's going on. So boom, there we go. Pokemon stats BMI. Look at that. I get a nice little field, not field. I get a nice little control up top that tells me the title of it. Looks all fancy and pretty. And here's my Pokemon. Remember, I chose justified, so it goes until it reaches about an end, and then it goes to the next one and puts the other fields in. And so look at this. I get 26 records. That's a lot of records. Why do I have 26 records? I wonder. There's Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle. Look at that. There's multiple Squirtles there. There's multiple Blastoises. So many Caterpies. There's another Blastoise. 26 records. That's kind of strange. I wonder where it got all of that from. Well, let's take a look at my BMI here. That's 9 there. That's 12 here. And that's 11 here. Anyone got any ideas of what could have happened? Why I got 26 records? Go back. Which one is it? This guy. Well, that happens to do with how the query is made. That BMI query. Sorry, I have crips. Has to do with how that query was made, and then the repeats that were also created among them. So this is getting data from the query and also from the table. Yeah, duplicate Pokemon across records. That's right. Yep. Because I'm pulling in from multiple places too, and then on some of those it's being duplicated. Yep, that's exactly correct. So got to be careful when you're creating forms off of multiple entities, especially like mixing tables and queries. Because as we saw with the tables, it was quite easy, right? Because they were easily linked. There was a relationships formed there. There aren't any relationships formed with any queries here. Could you do that? Yes. That's why when you initially have that show table, queries are here. So you could link them as well so that you wouldn't have those issues where you get those duplicate records across multiple entities. Yeah, good job. So as you can see, as we keep going further with the things we can do, we kind of start backtracking to other things we've already done, right? Like here, we're talking about we created a new form based off of queries in based off a query in table, but it seemed like everything should be connected to it, right? Because the query was based off that same table, but we ran into issues because there is not a direct link between those. That would have to actually have been a relationship would have to have actually been created between them here, so that we wouldn't have that issue of duplicate records across. So that can be done though, right? Very easily. Just add that here. Oops, I did it twice. Leave that one. And then just simply like connecting the Pokemon to Pokemon will work. Got to be careful when doing that, right? Because if I did connect Pokemon to Pokemon, we come up with an issue because this is not the primary key. So this would create a many-to-many relationship. So you need something in the middle to handle that they would be the same. And that's where you would go into, well, I guess I should probably use this guy to connect the two. So I probably want to add a new field that had the, or sorry, actually they're already the same. Pokoni is just called, it's the same as Pokemon, it's just called that. So I could make a connection here. Okay. I just remember why I called it Pokoni. Oni is like a demon in Japanese, so it was like a pocket demon instead of pocket monster. It was a silly joke. I'm gonna create a new ROM hack and call it Pokeoni. Pokoni. Anyway, so that's forms. Nope, not making any changes there. Close them all. Probably save that one that I created earlier. That was all Pokemon stuff. Okay. So yeah, we got a couple of minutes left. To be quite honest, it's enough time to actually teach you about reports, because most of it honestly would be you playing around after the fact. But I'll save that for it's the end of the week already, so I'll save that for Monday. But yeah, so more stuff about creating. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So on the assignment, it says like create a new record and modify another. So we would just add more to our table, or
You would add it. I would like for you to add it using a form. Of course, yes, you could just do it from the table, because they're connected. But yes, so similar to what I did when I added the other Blastoise, I clicked next and added a new one. So I'll show that to you again. So, so yeah, you could look at these websites to look at some other things you could do when you're creating a form. And let's take a look at the assignment. So pretty much, you create two forms for this. The first one is literally just select one of your tables, click on the form command, kind of highlight the first instance I showed you. Boom, click on form, it automatically creates a form with all the things you need, right? That one should take you like 2 seconds. Some of you probably already done with that. Second thing is in the forum groups. Yeah, second thing, create a new form. Could be from design, could be done during the wizard, using the wizard. Do it however you would like. But with the new form, make some kind of change to the layout, which if you use design, the layout's already going to be changed, right? Because you're literally creating it from scratch. With the form wizard, I don't want it just to be stacked. As you see with the form that you just create when you click form. I don't want it just stacked like by column. I want it to be, you could do justify, you could use columnar, but when you use columnar, you'll see they'll all be attached together, as opposed to, just kind of show you a difference real quick. Notice this is not just stacked. This is all stacked together. This one is not, this is justified. This is stacked, but notice this difference here. In this one case, I actually ended up changing the size of it so I could make them look like that. And this one is stacked as well. So I would not want something like this either. I would want you to have changed the look of it in some way. And it's just so that I know that you can change that. And so this is where I did that instance where I added a new record, right? Let me do it with this guy instead. So to create a new record, a couple things you can go to the last one and just click next, and then it'll automatically make a new one. Or I can click this new blank record button, which can also be found on the home tab in the records group right here. So create a new record, enter in the stuff that I want, 800, human, the ultimate Pokemon evolution. He's a normal, and sometimes a fighting type. Base stats of 1,000. Height on average is 6 foot. That's meters. I don't know. I can't do it. Can't do math in my head today. So about 3 foot. I'm just gonna make a giant. Here we go. 18 meters. I like 0.7. That's funny. Good. Yeah, it's about 3 feet in a meter. Just make it's like Attack on Titan. Weight in kilograms.
Create the new record. We're adding in new information.
Yes.
So does it? So say like before you create, does the form still save what the original information was from the stats that you chose for that Pokemon?
Oh, this is a brand new record. So I literally, when I click that new there or up here, it is literally a brand new instance. And so when I just made this here, if I go to the Pokemon stats table now, you don't see anything here because this hasn't been refreshed yet. But if I refresh it, it should pop up now. Oh, I didn't save it. Sorry, let me go back. Where was it? This one. All right. So once I create that new record, I need to actually save it. Go to Pokemon stats. Nothing's here. I refresh it. Now it appears there. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at pretty much just what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up your other version you uploaded originally, where you had, your 10 records. Some of you had a lot more than that. Then I'm going to pull up your new one and say, do I see a new record here? The other thing I'm going to look at is, do I see a change in some other record? And it might make some of you angry. This is just solely just to see and make sure you know you can do this. So I would like for you to use the form to do this. Of course, you could just do it in the table. I have ways to kind of know, but it'll be too difficult for me to even, honestly, I won't be trying to look for it. But let's say on one of these other ones,
Adding another Pokemon. I just want to make sure, understand. So you're adding another Pokemon or adding new information to that Pokemon you already have?
You're going to do both. So I did the adding, and now I'm going to add in new information to one. So let's try and pick something that I can use. Let's just do Mew. I know this isn't true, so don't get mad at me, any fans out there. But I'm going to add a new type 2 to it. So it was blank at first. Now I'm going to type fairy in here. I'm going to save that. And when I go to my Pokemon stats table, take a look at Mew. It actually already got updated. But fresh, then that Mew, that fairy would appear there. So that would be the changes that you would make. You would create a new record, and then you would make a change to one of your old records. So that's what the instructions are. Okay. After you've done so, like created your 2 forms, time to make some changes. Use your new forms to create at least one new record and modify another. I will see the difference based off your previous databases you uploaded. Okay. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. So yeah, you're creating a new record and you're making a change to an old record. Okay. All right. So I'm way over time. Sorry about that. But yeah, pretty much the first 2 parts are: did you use Access and do you have forms on your thing? So if you do, you get those first 10 points easily. The other 10 points come from your creation of your forms. We got 2 new forms that are one is just a regular form. The other one is different, and then there's a change in your layouts. So okay, this is due 2 weeks, but I'm sure many of you are ahead, which is great. Gives you time with other stuff and more time for Thanksgiving fun. So anyway, I'm 2 minutes over. I apologize. I know that really upsets a lot of you sometimes, so I'm really sorry about that. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy keeping up with election stuff, and see you all on Monday. Bye. You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Did it get everything, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I did. And then are you going to be posting this meeting?
This one? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did.